in close contact with cetaceans. Could they communicate with them? And are there ways to communicate now with the cetacean nation?
Yes, they communicated at their peak very readily, and as we have said before, many of their temples were built close to the ocean with aqueducts and passageways for dolphins to come in and partake of many of the ceremonies that they may have created in Atlantis. And there was a lot of telepathic communication between Atlanteans at their peak and the cetacean nations of the world, which you are now rediscovering. Again, look to the idea that there are patterns within the cetacean languages, as well as increasing the idea of empathic and telepathic communication with them by coming from your heart and transferring images from your mind to them and receiving images from their minds to you. So it's all about the idea of resonance, the proper state of being, and the imagery that you can conjure in your minds that can create a bond, once again, between humans and cetaceans.
And what are one of the benefits that they received from their communication with the cetaceans that perhaps we don't really comprehend as being available to us?
The riches of the ocean. The cetaceans were very good at communicating with their fishermen as to where the fish were, and also what elements could be found in the ocean floor that could be mined that would help with Atlantean technology. So, in the world of the sea, the dolphins and other cetaceans would communicate to the Atlanteans things that they required for the building up of the Atlantean civilization and the feeding of the peoples of the land. They were very rich in terms of mining also things like kelp and sea vegetables.
And how did they communicate this information to the Atlanteans?
As we said, through the idea of imagery in the mind telepathically, in the idea of showing them areas that they were somewhat familiar with. In other words, an image that says, go here, an image of the thing that they sought, thus understanding that that existed in the area that they were familiar with visually.
I see. Was hubris purely the spiritual aspect in a law of attraction sense that drew the comet to destroy Atlantis? And did their technology draw the comet in?
Not literally draw the comet in, but again, vibrationally, attracting to themselves that particular choice, that particular version of Earth. Now, again, do remember there are other versions of Earth where Atlantis was not destroyed, and many different kinds of affectations in between. Simply, you are dealing with the timeline here because of choices that you have all made collectively, that you are dealing with that particular timeline where the Atlantean vibration of breaking into the positive and negative side, and the negative side becoming more dominant, what you call hubris, and the idea of self-destructive tendencies to draw themselves, to shift themselves into the version of the timeline that contain the idea of cometary destruction and devastation. So again, remember, there are many versions of Earth where Atlantis was not destroyed.
And as far as the idea of I know this depends on what Earth you're on, but how are we on Earth in terms of avoiding the Atlantean cataclysm this time? Or are we still in that process of seemingly replaying what happened?
Again, some of you are shifting to worlds where that won't occur, and some of you are shifting to worlds where it will. You have to take this on an individual basis or even a small group basis as to what vibration and resonance you are setting up for yourselves to navigate in what direction you are going. So it cannot just be one answer for one Earth.
So I guess the idea that if you see a lot happening on the Earth you're on that appears to be going in that direction, you still have to remember the splitting prism concept and the idea of the glass wall.
Yes.
So just because you can see it doesn't mean you're on the Earth that's going for the same trajectory.
For now, yes. For now, you are allowed to see that which you do not choose in order to give those on that side of the wall the opportunity to see you and to change their minds if they're going in a destructive direction. Of course, those on the positive side can also still choose to go in a destructive direction, which is why we're saying you now have the ability to choose. This is the time of choosing. This is the fluidity that is being discussed here, where everything is still a free choice. You can see realities that you don't necessarily exist in, but still are capable of choosing to exist in them. So again, until this crystallizes, seeing something that is not vibrationally compatible with you does not mean, if you stay in a positive state, that you are actually existing in that reality. But if you stay positive, eventually you will no longer experience those particular abilities to see those things, and those in the negative realities will no longer experience the ability to choose to go in a positive direction by seeing living examples, because they will have shut them out and blinded themselves to those positive examples they could have chosen eventually in the years to come.
And the idea of this cataclysm, that wouldn't necessarily be in the form of attracting a comet. It would be using whatever is available, in a sense.
Possibly so, but again, it depends on the reality that you are shifting to. It would be, in a sense, ironic, and many people gravitate towards irony to draw or attract the same thing that destroyed Atlantis. So many may experience that, but others may experience the concept of cataclysm in a different way, a lighter way, something that they can get through, something they can deal with, something they can relate to and survive more easily. Again, you have to understand that there's a spectrum here. It's not just this or that. It's many different things in between, and many different people, based on their vibration, will choose to experience transformation in a variety of ways.
So that idea of attracting nuclear war. Well, first of all, is that true for all Earths, that the ETs would, in a sense, inhibit?
No, it is not true for all Earths because, as we have said, everything exists now. And there are already Earths that coexist alongside what you're experiencing that have already destroyed themselves utterly.
So the Earth you are speaking to,
Of
for
course.
sure. There will be some on that Earth also that would maybe experience limited nuclear experience, but
No, no,
as long as I
no, no, no. We are not communicating a vibration of frequency to that particular reality.
okay.
We are doing so less and less. You have to understand our initial contact, our initial spread, different versions of us that are communicating with different versions of Earth are becoming fewer and fewer, all coalescing into only those versions that will be more representative of the vibration that we are compatible with in order for you to have contact with all those different versions of us. So the ones that are choosing to go in more negative directions, different versions of us unplug from, because they are choosing not to experience the vibration we are suggesting that they take. And therefore, they no longer experience a version of us.
Okay, so when you were talking about that the ETs wouldn't intervene if it was a limited nuclear kind of incident,
Yes.
does that mean that anybody who experiences that would not be aligned essentially with the future or the reality that is representative of your communication?
At this time, not necessarily, because the fact that we have told you that there can be an allowance for a limited nuclear experience is still within the vibration of the potential of surviving that and coming out of it in a much more positive way, making certain decisions based on that experience. So that's still part of the connection of the possibility of different Earths to experience open contact, but it depends on how you use such an experience, which we'll be observing.
I see. Thank you.
Yes.
Um, are there any human groups that don't have Atlantean genes or blue blood?
At this point, you will find that while the genetics of the Atlantean track may be very minimal in some groups, there are none on your planet that have absolutely none, even though the percentage may be extremely small.
And is there a race or culture today that looks a lot like the Atlanteans did in their time?
Well, again, some of the indigenous cultures have some resemblance, as we said, Aztecan, Incan, so to speak. Some European stock, the Basques, to some degree share some of the genetic traits, but again, there is no one that is looking like a pure Atlantean at this point, at least not at its peak. Later on, perhaps, toward the end of the third phase and the destruction, yes, it was more of a mixture, more of what you call a melting pot. So many different kinds of people may have looked like some of the later ancient Atlanteans. But at its peak, no. There are no beings on your planet at this point that look exactly like the beings of Atlantis at its height. Some have some traits, and some of those traits are coming back. As people on your planet gain height, you will find that some of that is an Atlantean trait because the early Atlanteans were relatively tall.
Yes, that was the next question was during that period um, of when they were, let's see, sorry, from the golden age to the time of their destruction. Someone was asking how tall were they?
It was not uncommon for them to be somewhere around 7 feet. There were some even 8 feet tall, and that is a typical average. There were some taller, some shorter, but again, as we said in our transmission, the biblical Nephilim were actually ancient Atlanteans, and they were described as being relatively tall.
And are there archetypes that are related to the myth or the legend of Atlantis? And also, do we as human beings create new archetypes in our collective soul?
Yes, of course. You have created a new archetype in the idea of extraterrestrials in the way that you see them in this day and age, representing us in a variety of ways. That is a relatively new archetype for your civilization. Extraterrestrials that were recognized in past civilizations presented themselves as a different energetic collective consciousness archetype from the way that you see us today. The idea of certain representations and legends, such as Kukulkan and Quetzalcoatl, the idea of the feathered serpent is representative of the ancient comet and therefore has been, shall we say, collectively embodied in the idea of Quetzalcoatl as the destroyer, as the regenerator, as the renewer. The idea of the comet has, and the destruction of Atlantis has been embodied in that particular idea and in the concept of dragons around the planet. Now, dragons, again, separately, do represent a different extra dimensional kind of being or consciousness that presents itself in that way, that clothes or cloaks itself in the form you call a dragon when it interpenetrates into your dimension. That's just how it's represented by your collective consciousness for a variety of reasons we will go into at another time. But the idea in general of the dragon archetypally is actually a representation of the comet, the feathered serpent, and the destruction of Atlantis all wrapped up in the idea of that legendary archetype.
Japan has been told it possesses strong links to Atlantis and Lemuria. Can you expand on that at all?
Well, mostly Lemuria, because again, the South Pacific Asian area was the Muin homeland. And Japan played a part in the idea of migrations from the more southerly versions of Mu into the more northerly areas, the more northerly islands around the area at the time. So there is some Muin genetics that moved into the Japanese area and to some degree are representative, but have been admixed with many other things and so are not purely representative of ancient Muin genetics.
Was Poseidon the last king of Atlantis?
It is a name that is used to represent the last king of Atlantis, yes.
He's often depicted surrounded by dolphins. Is that an image for connecting to Sirius, or is that a Atlantean type image?
Both.
How many star systems are there involved with Atlantis?
Sirius, primarily. There are a few others. We cannot discuss them at this time.
It said that there are codes and keys necessary to open the Atlantean halls of records. Is that correct? And are there these codes and keys?
There are, and don't expect me to give them to you.
So discovering those
All I can tell you is it's based, again,
on
on musical vibration.
Okay. So you mean, what else can you say about that?
Nothing.
Okay. Did women inherently have more prestige and power in Atlantis than men did, or was it also patriarchy?
It was relatively equal.
So what was the hubris that they expressed, that if they were relatively balanced in the male-female?
Again, you have to understand you're talking about evolution over thousands of years. So the idea of changes happened in different places, in different ways, at different times, splitting them into the idea of more positive and negative, connecting to both the sexes, the sons and daughters of light, the sons and daughters of darkness. Again, similar to what your American continent and many global nations on your planet are going through now, where are those that lean more toward the idea of self-empowerment and those that lean more toward the idea of order and control. So this is not necessarily restricted to the idea of one gender. The idea is that there was a split over long periods of time that allowed people of both sexes to go in different directions, as you see today, where you have no difference, in a sense, between the idea of men and women going toward the darkness and men and women going toward the light.
So when you talk about hubris, I mean, like, what would you say is the most strongest vibrational state that those that would be going in the direction of the destruction?
The negative ego, arrogance, the idea of being above and in control with the physical mind, instead of the partnership between the physical and higher mind, the abandonment of the connection to the higher mind.
So essentially, it's the idea of spiritual connectivity and the way you relate to it. And because I know that in a lot of religions, people are always reaching for that higher state of God or connection.
Yes.
And essentially, what you're saying, everything comes down to your connection to your higher self.
Connection to source, connection to higher self, yes. And the idea and understanding of what physical mind is all about, and not imposing too much upon it to think that it is in control.
So another question that came here was a person who lives in...
You understand?
I do.
Is this helping?
It actually brings up an awareness.
Oh, thank you. And what is that awareness?
That the imagining the destruction of the economy would, on some level, be more comfortable to me than imagining the unknown of what would be sort of the perfection beyond that.
Well, there you go. Now, understand that what you call your economy is arbitrarily based anyway, isn't it?
Sure.
Isn't it just by your agreement?
Sure.
That it works at all? Isn't it just an imaginary game? This is worth that. Okay. Didn't it used to be rocks and bones and stones and feathers and beads and all sorts of things? Now it's coin and paper, so it's just arbitrary. It's just what you agree to. A more solid economy would be basing it on the people themselves, their skills and abilities, and what they have to contribute to society. You'll get there. But the point is you don't have to worry about the collapse of the old system, because that's what needs to happen if you're going to have new systems. The trick is to create the new systems now so they will be in place when the old ones crumble of their own dead weight, because they no longer serve you. So seeing them start to break up and dissolve is actually cause for celebration, because it means you're on the verge of allowing yourself to know that there are new systems you can implement. But the point is, take action and make those new systems. Invent them, create them, be creative, be active, take action for its own sake. Again, not as a means to an end. For its own sake, because it excites you to do so. If it excites someone to invent, to create, to talk about, to share ideas of new economic systems just because that's what excites them, then that's what's going to create the new systems, and the synchronicity will take care of the timing. The new systems, when you have exciting people doing things because they're excited about it, just because they're excited about it, the timing will take place within the synchronicity automatically, and the new systems will be where they need to be, when they need to be there, when the old systems no longer serve you. That's how it works. It's automatic. It already works. You don't have to make it work. Just let it work. By going with the flow of it. By being who you really are. In a sense, by dragging your heels and not allowing yourself to believe that you will be supported in another way, just as you have been supported by this arbitrary idea. If you can be supported in your life by such an arbitrary, imaginary idea, why can't you be supported by another one that's actually even more concrete, because it's based on you, the true you, instead of the arbitrary one, instead of the arbitrary definition? Does that make sense?
Yes, definitely.
Is this sinking in?
Yes, definitely. That
You are supported all the time by creation anyway. If you weren't, you wouldn't exist. Why not simply allow yourself to know that whatever you decide to be supported, in whatever way you prefer to be supported, you'll be supported that way? Creation, in that sense, does not make that decision for you. It supports you in whatever way you say you believe you can be supported. So if you've been supported all this time, according to whatever belief systems you had at that time, by such an arbitrary, ephemeral, smoke and mirrors idea of economy, how can anything else be even more insubstantial?
Very good point.
Does that make sense?
Yes.
Look through the illusion and understand that what you're shifting to is how to use the power of the illusion instead of succumbing to the illusion of power. You see the difference?
Mm-hmm.
Use the power of the illusion. Don't fall under the negative ego assumption of the illusion of power. Does that help?
Yes, definitely.
Do you understand that you are all totally abundant?
Yes.
That's your natural state. You are supported unconditionally, totally, every second. Again, if you weren't, you wouldn't exist. The idea is that there really is actually no such thing as lack in the way that you typically define it. So let's go back to that idea of definition. What you experience when you create the experience called lack, what you're creating is an abundance of lack. So if you have an abundance of lack, why not have an abundance of something you prefer? Because it's all abundance, it's just different kinds of abundance. You are never not abundant, you just have an abundance of lack when you experience the idea you call lack. It's not actually a lack of abundance, it's an abundance of lack. Most of the things on your planet you have backwards. For example, seeing is believing. No, believing is seeing. You see?
Yes.
You believe?
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. By the way, when you allow yourselves to be in the moment in the way we discussed earlier, and give a clear and precise definition to every experience for its own sake as its own experience, you develop what you are perceiving in us at this point, which is that when we talk about these principles, we have an abundance of conviction. There is not what you call one shadow of a doubt in our minds that these things work. We know they work because they work for us. They can work for you. It requires the same degree of conviction that you know they work. And it is more easily had, this conviction is more easily experienced when you stop linking things together in continuity that don't need to be linked as a means to an end. When you truly understand the power of remaining in the present and defining everything that's happening as the only thing that needs to be going on right now, and it's leading you to nothing else, you will feel the power of that conviction. You will know and truly understand what we're talking about. Make sense?
Yes.
All right. Proceed.
Good day, Bashar.
And a you good day.
It's so good to see you again.
Well, you are not seeing me, but I understand the sentiment. Thank you.
See in quotes.
Speak up so that all may hear what you have to share.
So I have a question about how I'm experiencing what you were talking about earlier. The example that popped into my mind was of how I had really wanted to see a UFO.
Yes.
And I went to an event. It was maybe 3 nights long or something like that.
Yes.
And each night we would go outside and people who knew about these things would attract the UFOs, and people in the crowd there were constantly saying, "Oh, look there, I see one. Look there, I see one."
That is not always the case.
That they see them?
Yes. Sometimes it is. Sometimes they just think they do, but they don't.
Okay, that's certainly plausible.
Yes.
And what...
And by the way, I've seen hundreds of UFOs. No big deal. Seen one, seen them all. Well, all right, not really.
So,
But it's not really anything special, is what we're saying. You don't have to make a big deal out of it.
all right, thank you. But
Oh, look! A car! Wow! Headlights and everything. It's a car. Yes, they're fun. Yes, they have their own uniqueness, but you know. A car by any other name, UFO, spaceship. Well, what it represents to you is what you're focused on.
yes,
But that's all within. The whole idea is that the idea you call a UFO, of course, if you recognize it as a spacecraft, it becomes an IFO,
right.
is all about the idea of your ability to simply transfer yourself to a vibrational state and get a reflection, in a sense, that shows you are in a different reality. But again, you can't base it conditionally on the idea of knowing you're in a different reality by waiting for the reflection. You have to know you're in a different reality. Then you'll just get the reflections when they are appropriate to appear. But you can't use the idea of seeing something like that as proof, in a sense, that you're in a different state of being, because then you're making that state of being conditional on the exterior reality experience, instead of just declaring that that's your state of being, which is what you say you prefer to be in. Make sense?
It does, and
Yes.
I'm wondering and guessing that this is related to the feeling that I get before something like this happens.
Yes.
In that particular instance, at first I was sort of pushing myself. I was trying to force it. I was trying to force the
Yes.
experience.
Yes.
And I could feel that this was not the way to go.
All right.
And one evening, before we were getting ready to go outside, the host of this event conducted a puja and a ceremony of fire, blessing, and so forth.
Yes.
And it's something that I really resonate with.
All right.
And I immediately felt myself just have this peaceful sense.
Yes.
And I remember thinking, oh, I bet this is one of Bashar's permission slips.
Yes, they all are.
And when we went outside, I just had this feeling of acceptance of whatever was going to happen or not happen was going to be fine.
All right.
It would all happen in right timing.
Yes, have fun with it. That's the point.
And it was fun, especially when I experienced it, because it was better than I expected.
There you go.
And
Higher mind can bring you something the physical mind may not yet have really been capable of imagining. Can bring it to you in a much greater way than the physical mind may have been capable of imagining. That's why it's important to allow the higher mind to do that and not insist that it has to turn out a specific way as what your physical mind was only capable of imagining. Because the physical mind is limited in what it can imagine. But the higher mind is not.
I remember you're saying that before.
Yes.
And that certainly was the case that night.
Yes.
And the experience was better also. It was way better also, because it helped me to understand the concept of that feeling, the
Yes.
feeling that I get.
Yes.
And so that was what I wanted to talk about, because I've had the feeling where it just feels like this is going to happen and I don't have to do anything. And I'm certainly not going to try to force it, because
No, well, it's not that you don't have to do anything. You don't force it, but you simply allow the behaviors and the actions to be expressions of the state of being that you're in. So whatever it is then you do is an expression of that state of being. But the actions thus then grounded in physical reality show, in a sense, the reflection of the physical universe, show up in the reflection of the physical universe, that you are committed to that state of being. That's what the behavior shows, that you're committed, that you're truly in that state of being. Because the behaviors follow naturally by being in that state of being. So it's not that you do nothing in terms of activity, but you don't force it. Yes.
okay. And so in that instance, I allowed it to proceed.
Yes.
Allow is not even the right word.
I understand. But it's a good enough word.
Okay. All right. So I've had that experience of the feeling of this is going to happen and it's natural, which I guess could be another.
This is happening. You don't know what's going to happen. You don't know how something is going to happen. What your physical mind is capable of perceiving is what is happening
That's
now.
right.
Bring it into the present, not going to happen. Happening now.
Okay. Oh, so that's what the feeling is saying.
Yes.
Okay. All right.
Remember, when we talked about the idea of prayer, prayer is not asking for something that's not here now. Prayer is being in a state of gratitude that it already is. Then you can see it. That's manifestation. That's
Okay.
what prayer is. That's why it's important to keep prayer in the present rather than, I want this to happen. It's going to happen. You're removing yourself from the present. And when you're not at present, you're not at home, then whatever it is you are attracting can't find you. Because you're not here. Ding dong, hello, knock knock. Nobody home. Oh well, guess we can't deliver this wonderful fruit basket.
So that's what's meant by the example of, I'm not going to pray for rain, I'm going to pray rain, and that's
Yes.
by feeling it right now.
Yes.
Okay.
You shift yourself then to the vibrational parallel reality in which it's already raining.
Okay.
All the programs already exist. All the versions of Earth you could possibly imagine already exist. When you change your vibration, you shift to the parallel reality that already reflects the vibration you've changed to, where it's already raining.
Yes.
Get the difference?
Yes. Yes.
Does that help?
It does help. Thank you.
Thank you for becoming your own flying object.
May I ask a question that is related but is also slightly off topic?
I don't know, can you?
Well, let's give it a try.
Don't try, just ask.
All right, thank you. So I have a question about this feeling state.
Yes.
Now that I'm more aware of it,
Yes.
It really is a trip.
Oh, all right, yes.
So I have the feeling state also around the concept of some of the, I guess they call them the Council of Nine. This is the way I've heard it described.
It is a euphemism for a collection of certain kinds of consciousness, yes, existing in another dimensional level from your own, yes.
Okay. And my understanding from some recent experiences is
Yes.
that they include the so-called Anunnaki.
No.
Okay. So that's part of my question is, how far do I go with this idea? Because you talked yesterday about the Interstellar Alliance.
Yes. There are many different interstellar alliances.
Okay.
We have our own, there are others.
Well, they use a term which at a previous event,
Yes.
I remember somebody asked a question about the Galactic Federation and you said what? And he said Galactic Federation and you said what?
I wasn't saying what to that.
Oh.
We were saying what to the way it was phrased to put him back in touch with the fact that he was, in a sense, being out of the present with the way it was being asked.
Oh.
We understand what is meant by Galactic Federation.
Right, but the way this is described,
Yes.
it sounds like it's a specific body of beings.
It can be seen and experienced that way. The idea, again, is that all these things are symbols. It's your symbol that represents that level of consciousness. If that symbol works for you, allows you to relate to it in a way that's fun for you, that's exciting for you, use it. But they don't see themselves that way. That's all we're saying. It's a symbol that works in your language, in your reality. So use it if it works for you to form a relationship. That's all right. The reason we say that the Anunnaki are not involved is because the energy that you have labeled in your society as Anunnaki no longer exists in the way that it used to in terms of your space-time linearity. So even though there is a consciousness connected to what you're calling the Council of Nine that could be said to be peripherally connected to what used to be the Anunnaki, it's no longer Anunnaki. But it contains that idea. But we wish to be more specific so as to not mislead you in terms of the symbology and the definitions that your society has given to it. From our perspective, it was, in that sense, not an accurate description of the energy as it actually exists now.
Okay.
Does that help you?
It does. Okay, but if I might take this slightly further. So I'm considering doing some work with some people, some personal healing work.
Can I ask you a question?
Yes, please.
Why are you just considering it instead of doing it?
Well, I actually have done it once, and
Then you are doing it.
well, I'm not sure if I want to do it again.
Then don't. Why is this so difficult? There is nothing mysterious about this. I don't prefer to do this again. Okay, don't.
Well, the work I
Oh,
like,
now I prefer to do it again. Okay, do it.
it's the idea of individuals
Yes.
who are non-corporeal entities who are
Yes.
said to be in the room, including one who is said to be one of these, the council or...
Let me make this clear for you.
Okay.
If you just look at all this as symbology that is representative of information that you prefer to attract, just look at it as symbology regardless of what you consider to be the reality. Because it's only the symbology you're going to experience in your reality anyway. Do you understand this? You're creating your symbol in your reality out of your energy. Even if another being, as you say, is really there, the only way you can perceive another being is to create a symbol of that being in your reality out of your energy so that you can form a relationship to that symbol that represents that energy so you can identify with it. So just look at everything as symbolic and just take it for what it means to you and use it in the way that you prefer. And don't spend time, would be our suggestion, wondering if it's real. The symbol is real enough for the energy and the information it contains if it has relevance for the work you have decided to do. Just use it as relevant information. And don't focus so much on the idea of exactly whether or not the source is quote-unquote real. It's all real in one context, but the only part of it you're experiencing anyway is your symbol of it. That's what you're interacting with. It's a reflection. So take out of it what you will. Leave what doesn't work for you and move forward. Does that make sense? Does that help clear up the idea?
It does, and it helps me to understand that what I must be doing is creating, because I had that feeling again.
Yes.
Because I won a raffle at a meeting.
All right.
And the raffle was for this energy healing.
All right.
And at first I thought, well, this is going to be nice, but it's probably just mainstream massage, but I'll go with it and see what happens.
Then why did you choose to win it if it was just mainstream massage?
Well, it didn't turn out to be that
Oh,
at
what
all.
a surprise.
Yes.
You mean you could actually learn to trust yourself and trust your synchronicities? Oh no, what a tragedy.
It turned out way better than that.
Oh, what a surprise. That would be a very good motto for you all.
Oh, what a
It
surprise.
always turns out way better.
Oh, yes.
It always turns out way better. It always turns out way better than I ever imagined. It always does.
Yes, I like that one.
Oh, all right. You can use it. I'll give you permission.
Thank you so much, Bashar.
Thank you.
I love you.
Our unconditional love to you as well.